So as you can see, I'm embodied in the feminine form. And contrary to what it says, 25 years, it's more like 40 years because I've lived what I would call 66 rotations around the sun. And everything hereafter is a genuine expression and reflection of feminine consciousness and the deep wisdom of my heart that has been cultivated from a deep alchemical spiritual journey. I've witnessed over this period of time the deepening split between head and heart and what I call the degradation of feminine consciousness in all its forms. The deepening cracks in our very infrastructures are becoming far more evident. I think everybody can see that. The so-named COVID pandemic, which our colleague Stefan Schwartz is going to speak on later today, has pushed the feminine attributes of touch, community, welcoming, and caretaking essentially out of the picture and is making us afraid to want to walk close to anyone. You can even no longer see a smile on anyone's face through the masks. Our elderly are being extremely isolated, and we are pushed to be online more and more. Isolation and fear are oppositional to the deep feminine consciousness. There is something that, so in my dissertation talk, as Jeffrey mentioned, I call it separation from the real. And there's become a deepening of that, not only with the mental health profession, but everything that's going on. And I use Charlene Spratnik's definition of real, which includes the knowing body, the creative cosmos, the complex sense of place, and the dynamic interrelationship of everything on this earth. In opposition to this rising separation, we have many who are speaking out more and more, as seen in the mass protests around the world, with the water protectors, especially here in Minnesota, which is where I'm at right now, in the rise against social, financial, and environmental injustice at every level. Mixed in with all of that is it's those who seek to dominate and force the populace to do their bidding, which is what we're watching right now. And then there are those seeking to maintain the status quo and be comfortable where they're at. I find this time to be one of great possibility where we can actually transform humanity. That's what we're being called to do. Interesting that we're in a consciousness conference today in the midst of all of this. And Jeffrey recently had his conference also, and then we had one at Tucson. So, but in this moment, it's up for grabs as to which way we go. And I am not speaking of an election outcome, although many are fixed in their attention on that aspect. We're at this crossroads, the great divide, head and heart. We have a story that always starts with once upon a time. This is the way many stories have begun throughout human history. Storytelling is deeply embedded in our collective psyche and way of being and is intimately connected to the way we transform and heal. Our ancestors told stories as they sat around the fire, maintaining an oral tradition that informed and guided the community, nurturing its very heart and essence. Our storytelling can be utilized to educate, to preserve culture, to pass information back and forth, to instill ethical values in our society. As such, storytelling, and really the truth of the matter is everything's a story. Our theories are stories about something that we think we've discovered in the moment, only to be undone later on. So it has a profound effect in shaping our reality. And we often hold tight to these things, really, really tight, to whatever our theories are in the moment, to, whatever religious beliefs that we've had, with, every manner of things that we want to hold on tight to, that make us feel comfortable and that we know that we actually know something. So the oral tradition nurtured the very heart and essence, and it created a relational way of being that we're slowly being moved out of, and really almost forced out of with this COVID piece, where we're all being forced online. We can't go to church, you know, our churches have been closed. We can't go to have community healing sessions, you know, any number of things where we're told don't get near each other, stand 6 feet apart, maintain your distance, wear a mask, don't touch anybody, wash your hands 20 times a day, and on and on and on. And so what is happening with the way we actually are together? Because story is the realm through which we as humanity create ourselves. So where do we stand in this unfolding story as we're standing in the middle of a really huge story that is being unfolded around us? So I want to take a moment actually, and well, I want to say, we put up a slide. I'm sorry, I'm not a big techno person. Jeffrey, you needed to help me here. Anyway, stories are the womb of personhood. They can make and break us. My dear colleague, psychologist Miller Mayer, out of Scotland, who's now passed, said this, and it is so true. And so what is the story that we're telling right now? What is the story we've been telling? I want to sit for a minute and I want you to reflect for a second on where you stand in this moment, in this unfolding story. Because part of the feminine consciousness is about being embodied, about moving into our heart space, about taking time to self-reflect. So as we move further in consciousness, that becomes a constant part of the way we are in the world. Now, where do we sit in all of this? I don't mean just the COVID piece, but where do we sit in what we believe, in what our underlying epistemology is, in how we act out that epistemology in the world? So I want you to take a minute now for a second and just take a deep breath in through the nose 3 times and out through the mouth. And delve into the state of thoughts in your mind. What's floating through there? And note your body and feel into any anxiety or stress that you may find there. And breathe deeply into that area of your body. Now I want to ask you, what story has been created for the feminine soul? Because we each have that in us. I happen to be in the female body, but even men have the feminine side of them, whether it's in manifestation or not. But this culture and the society does not respect or embrace the feminine aspects of deep heart consciousness, or the feminine's deeply intuitive nature, which often has the ability to foretell. How many times have you had that still small voice of your heart, your intuition, come, but then you brushed it away? You overrode it with some piece of logic. Maybe you shamed it. Maybe it was either internal or it came from an external source. Like, don't be silly. What are you talking about? As the embodied feminine, we see differently. We encompass more, we multitask. We are community oriented. We make sure everyone is fed and not just with food. Feminine wisdom, right, resides in the heart. It is inclusive, caretaking. It is interrelational. It is embodied, creative. It creates home and homecoming. And I would also add the essence of the earth herself, nature herself, that is our home. It feeds us, it gives us air and water to sustain ourselves. The aspect of the feminine is about the true essence of creativity and sustaining all life. Over the 66 years, I have witnessed the co-opting of the feminine Shakti. Not only has it been co-opted to serve marketing and other purposes, such as in this historically early clip. I'm going to now take you to a short clip that shows something that happened actually during the suffragette movement.
Every year, New York held an Easter Day parade to which thousands came. Bernays decided to stage an event there. He persuaded a group of rich debutantes to hide cigarettes under their clothes. Then they should join the parade, and at a given signal from him, they were to light up the cigarettes dramatically. Bernays then informed the press that he had heard that a group of suffragettes were preparing to protest by lighting up what they called torches of freedom.
He knew this would be an outcry, and he knew that all of the photographers would be there to capture this moment. And so he was ready with a phrase, which was torches of freedom. And so here you have a symbol, women, young women, debutantes.
So in that one, it shows how marketing of a particular thing, because this came about because the head of, I think it was Philip Morris, decided he wasn't making enough money because he only got half the population. Only men smoked at that time because there was a huge taboo on women. So he got 6 women to decide they were going to do that, hopping on the back of the suffragette movement and then twisting that into torches of freedom. So now we have, once again, the feminine and a movement that is the rise of the feminine energy to say there needs to be a balance of a balance in society usurped. So that is part of what we're looking at here, is what has happened and what is going on related to the feminine consciousness on this planet. In the next clip, we're going to see, it's a clip from a TV show showing a rape victim, actually. And I'm going to tell you that this actually happens. I've seen it.
If this has audio, I'm not sure it's coming through. Oh, just a little bit here and there on my end. I don't think we're hearing this. I'm not sure if you can hear me or not. Just to let you know.
I can hear you, but no audio. I agree.
Are y'all able to hear that?
No.
Is that the issue?
Yes, we can see, but not hear.
Okay. All right. I'm wondering why. Okay.
It happened at the tail end of the previous video too, actually.
Did it right at the tail end? Oh,
Maybe
then we can't.
It's coming through here. Okay.
Oh, it's coming through our speaker. Okay. We have 2 speakers going here. All
You,
right.
you should stop the share, and then when you reshare, before you click the screen to share, there's a button on the left, and you have to click that to get the sound to go through the computer.
Is that Charles?
It is.
I knew it. Why aren't you here with me?
Oh, I see it.
Okay, so you want to go to the, all right. Well, I'm one, okay. We'll keep going here and see if it works on the next one.
Well, you have to stop sharing first and then reshare to clip to indicate to put the sound through the computer.
Okay, can
You wanna
work through that microphone?
Is that Gabriel working it for you?
Yes.
Along
Yeah.
those lines, while we're chatting, about 5 minutes left.
Okay. So, all right. So, to go on, you know, we move on to, you got me all off, the book Silent Spring and Rachel Carson, and how she talked about the ecosystemic nature of the earth and the indiscriminate spraying of DDT. And her work follows the field of cybernetics or ecosystemic epistemology, which is kind of what I want to get to here. Fundamentally, women dwell here without understanding the academic underpinnings, but we are being shifted, pushed, pulled out of this, leaving the feminine in angst and in many cases floundering. There's an ongoing rhetoric by those that have put themselves in the position of being the sole arbiter of societal well-being that has targeted women, children, and people of color, creating consistent mimetic conditioning around all these things, including mental illness. We're going to try this again.
Just leave that on.
Ms. Carson
That's not that right.
maintains
That's
that the
That's
balance
a
of nature
no. We're
is a
down at the
major
mental health
force
stuff.
in
This is not working.
It was
Sorry.
fine. It was, we heard it just fine that time.
Okay, but it's not the right
Is
film.
it this one?
Oh,
So what I want to point out, play that one, is how we target women constantly and children and people of color in particular ways.
If you're struggling with bipolar depression, depression hurts in so many ways. Sadness, loss of interest, anxiety. You may still be struggling with depression. Try to put on a brave face, but inside the symptoms linger. Depression is every day with depression.
So fundamentally, the targeting has always gone towards women in every arena. And what is happening is, with the feminine being suppressed and oppressed, we need to seriously look at what we're saying in this society related to the feminine consistently. And it runs the gamut in all of our TV, in all of our commercials, and even in our academic settings. In my years as an organizational development professional, I witnessed our lack of teaching a cybernetic or ecosystemic epistemology firsthand. I noted that without reflection and learning, a person, organization, or system remains unmoving, and evolution towards a more mature consciousness is circumvented. There is a dominant paternalistic preference in every single of our structures, but these structures give immense power to the internal players, making it very difficult to evoke change. We have fought against this for years in all of our arenas, and it's time for us to join hands rather than fight. What I want to say is that we've moved in this society, and I think a lot of our consciousness scholars understand that, but I think that we also stay sometimes more in our head than our heart. And as a female, we need to embody that aspect of ourselves, whether we're in the masculine or feminine form, in order to bring forth a different type of society than the one we're watching. Because what we're watching is a definite oppression of feminine consciousness pretty much in every single avenue, whether it's the earth, as you see here, and our beautiful quote from Krishnamurti, saying to have compassion means to have passion for all things, not just between two people, but for all human beings. for all things of the earth, the animals, the trees, everything the earth contains. When we have such compassion, we will not despoil the earth as we are doing now, and we will have no wars. I'm sorry, some of you may think, oh, this is a tirade from a woman. She's being negative. That some of that stuff can't happen. Maybe you have positive thoughts or anywhere in between, but I'm going to ask you to reflect upon your thoughts and feelings as they arise. It's this practice of reflection constantly on where we're at, when something triggers us, when something butts against our theories or what we believe in. That is how we're going to transform and to question and to continually question what is put before us. So as I would say, as consciousness scholars, researchers, mystics, and shamans, how do we embrace and heal the feminine soul that we all possess and actually transform these systems that we're bound to? That is the question for reflection, I think, as you move into the next stages of your journey.